I'm Sarah Kavanagh, and I was diagnosed with a giant cell tumour in my talus bone in 2017. It was actually bonfire night 2016. I'd gone to a bonfire display with my sister, my husband and my children, and walking back I went over on my ankle, just sort of rolled my ankle, and at the time I thought, I literally sort of stood and it was so painful, and I just put it down to having a new pair of boots on and just not walking correctly in them. And then I left it about 6 weeks, and it was just causing me problems. It was really swollen. Went to A&E, and they just said, there's nothing on the x-ray, it's just ligaments or a muscle damage. And then after about another 6 to 8 weeks after that, I went to see my GP because it was still causing trouble. At the time I was working in a call centre, so there wasn't much walking involved, but sometimes you have to park your car really far away, and on the days where I was parking my car further away from work, walking into it was then a problem. So I'd really noticed the symptoms. Went to see my GP. She said, we'll send you for an x-ray. So GP sent me for an x-ray. Went back to GP about 3 weeks later. She said, the x-ray was clear, there's no fractures, nothing on the x-ray. So then she referred me to see the podiatrist, and I didn't have that until the April time. Saw the podiatrist. She pulled up the x-rays that were taken from November and January, and she just said there's an area of concern that she wasn't happy with. So she referred me for an MRI scan. Had that done I think it was in May, and within a week of having that MRI done, I was invited back for another MRI. Had the second MRI, and within 3 days of having that MRI scan, had a phone call to tell me to go to my local hospital to get crutches and a cast boot. So I was put into those, and then a week later I was given a call from Robert Jones and Agnes Hunt Hospital in Oswestry, which is about 75 miles away from home, to say that I had what they thought was a bone tumour, and I had to go for an appointment there. Had the appointment, had a biopsy the following day, and then it was about 10 days after. They were unsure whether it was an ABC tumour or a giant cell. But then after they decided they were going to put me on Demnosub for 6 months. But then after the biopsy decided that the tumour had grown aggressively between the two MRI scans, so they decided to go straight in with the surgery. Had the surgery done, that's when the confirmation came back it was giant cell. But it did have ABC sort of tendencies as well. Had the surgery done in July 2017. They did the cuttage to scrape the tumour out. Mr. Cool said the tumour was extremely large and very destructive and aggressive, so it destroyed the whole of my talus bone and started to veer out towards my ankle bone, also my heel bone. I was in hospital for about 5 days, which was tough, obviously being away from my family and my children. It's the first time I'd ever left them overnight, so that was really hard. And then after that, basically I was in a cast, like a back slab for 2 weeks. Then went back and I was put into a lightweight cast for 6 weeks. Then they put me into the boot just before we went on holiday, because we were going to Cornwall. So to save getting sand in the cast and things, they put me into the cast boot. And again, just kept saying, we'll see how it goes now, remove the tumour. So on the way to Cornwall, my foot had sort of really ballooned in size. I started to get a lot of pain again. Just put it down to being in the car for 12 hours and travelling, but the pain just got progressively worse. Went back in September for my just usual 12-week scans, and I was then told that the tumour had grown back, and they didn't know whether it was a new tumour or whether it was still part of sort of seedlings that had been left in the July time. So then they did something called radiofrequency ablation to remove the second tumour, and then again put back into the cast boot after that, and then just left to see how the bone grew itself. Obviously it didn't, so then this year in March I had the bone graft taken from my hip. I still get quite emotional, sorry. It's just been a long journey. Just before I was diagnosed, I'd worked so hard for sort of 2 years to get my teaching, to become a teaching assistant. I'd just landed my job, and then sort of 6 weeks after getting that job, diagnosed with a tumour. So that's been really hard, dealing with that and not being able to show who I am as a person at my new employment. Luckily there's a few people that teachers and heads and things that were there before I was diagnosed and know my work ethic. But, there's a lot of teachers that have come that are new, and they just say, oh, I don't even notice about, it's just part of who you are. So that can be frustrating sometimes because they don't know me as I was beforehand. We have a lot of times where we go out and I get, oh, what have you done to your leg? And people expect this amazing story about dancing on a table or drunk on a night out. And the minute I say I've had a bone tumour, they just sort of turn around and walk off. Went out with my brother a couple of weeks ago for the first time in a long time. And he was like, I don't know how you deal with that every day, because he was just completely shocked at, sort of people's reactions, and they want to know the ins and outs of what's happened to you, and which is fine. I don't mind explaining, but then it is a bit of a conversation killer. So yeah, it's just been hard, and it's been hard for my husband, it's been hard for my children, but we muddle together as a family and get through it. And if it wasn't for him and my sister Katie and sort of the support I've had from friends and family, I don't think I'd be as strong as I am.